So last week on Battlefield 1 Best Weapons, we discussed and revealed the top 3 medic rifles in the game. And unsurprisingly, the Fedorov Avtomat came out on top. The weapon that really changed up the medic class with the Russian DLC stormed out ahead of the rest. But today, we're going to be discussing shotguns. Which is going to take the number 1 spot, I wonder? Let's find out. This week, the poll you guys were voting on received quite a lot of votes, nearly 6,000 in fact, which is awesome to see. You guys really are driving the outcome of these videos, and it does represent what the community thinks is the best weapon in a certain category. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video though, to find out what the next weapon category is that you're going to be voting on. Okay, let's get this show started. All votes for this poll were frozen on Friday the 26th of January, and I'll be revealing all the shotguns in the order that they were in then. So the first of these 3 shotguns, taking 3rd place as voted for by the community, comes in with just 698 votes. And remember I said there were nearly 6,000 votes in total, so if number 3 has only got 698, you can imagine what the top 2 have got. Number 3 is the M97 Trench Gun. Now this is one of those weapons in Battlefield 1 that got some special treatment. Not only does it come in 3 standard variants, it also gets a 4th variant, which is purely cosmetic, the Hellfighter Trench Gun as well. Now, the M97 Trench Gun is one of the more varied shotguns that you can choose from in Battlefield 1. It has the great ability to fire automatically rather than semi-automatically, and comes in 3 distinct variant categories, even though I told you there were 4 variants. The backboard variant can basically be considered the base model, and the Hellfighter variant uses the same stats as the backboard, but instead it's emblazoned with a Hellfighter-themed weapon skin. Now, the backboard has reduced weapon recoil in comparison to the other variants you can use, but that comes at the cost of a shorter damage fall-off. Follow-up shots should be easier to hit because you don't have to deal with the recoil, but with the damage not reaching out as far, you're really taking the middle-of-the-road shotgun here. Now, the Hunter variant, that comes equipped with a choke on the barrel, offering improved accuracy and range. This tightens the pellet spread, making it good for mid-range combat, but you do lose some of that raw power at close range if you don't keep your sights on target. And lastly, we have the Sweeper variant. This adds a wide choke, increasing the weapon spread. This is your extreme close quarters choice, with all of those pellets spraying right out from the shotgun as soon as you fire it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can fire the trench gun in fully auto mode, and this is something I learned only after using the weapon for quite a considerable amount of time trying to grind for that elite codex. The weapon can be slam fired. This is the action of a shell being fired the moment a pump is completed. Now, to do this in game, you just have to hold down the fire button, and after each pump, you will fire the next shell. However, doing this causes the weapon to increase in spread more and more after each shell is fired, and you're unable to fully reset the weapon in between each pump, so firing in full auto is really only viable at extreme close range, unless you've got some incredible weapon control, and at long range you want to try and control the spread of all of those pellets. It is a trait that is extremely valuable to have if you're in a tight situation, and no other shotgun in the game can do that. So, the trench gun takes spot number 3, and as I alluded to earlier, it is quite a distance behind spot number 2. And this one really did surprise me because I expected this shotgun to win. With 2,304 votes, the Model 10A takes spot number 2. The Model 10A is another American-built shotgun, just like the trench gun, and around 3,500 of them were shipped to mainland Europe with US troops and were given to frontline soldiers. In Battlefield 1, it's a bit of a mess, and it has been since the launch of the game, and when I say mess, it's been a bit of a broken mess. Its power, range, and accuracy on the Hunter variant makes it almost the default choice for most assault players wanting to use shotguns. Now, the gun also comes in factory and slug variants alongside the Hunter, with the factory regaining accuracy faster, and the slug swapping out the shell for a standard projectile, which reduces the overall damage somewhat, but at longer ranges, it gives you way better accuracy, and it can actually make for a really fun gun to use. But come on, let's not kid ourselves here. I think we know it's the Hunter variant that players are using, and of course with improved accuracy at range because of that tight choke on it, and the raw power of those pellets just flying across the map, it is easy to see why people want to use this shotgun. However, things might be about to change because, of course, we have the upcoming weapon balance patch, and that's going to completely redesign the pellet distribution of all shotguns in Battlefield 1 to make them more consistent and be less random. Now, I'm not saying that this patch is going to generally change the mindset of all those players that continue to use the 10A Hunter because they think it's the best, but all of the other shotguns that perhaps aren't used as much will be brought into line. So every single shotgun in the game will be more competitive. So time really will tell if the Hunter will remain as popular as it currently is. With all the shotguns being reduced to 12 pellets per shell, and a sector-based pellet spread being used within each of those shells, most shotguns will then be differentiated by rate of fire and their attachments. So whether they've got a wide choke on there, no choke at all, or a tight choke, as the Hunter variants have. What we'll likely see is a much more balanced playing field on offer for players who want to use shotguns, and no longer a huge lean towards one shotgun, and indeed one variant of that shotgun, just like we have here with the Model 10A Hunter. So that's the Trench Gun in spot number 3, and the Model 10A in spot number 2. I really did expect it to win. So what is taking the top spot for Battlefield 1's best shotgun? With 2,310 votes, just 6 more votes than the Model 10A, we have the Model 1900 double barrel shotgun. Now personally, I'm extremely happy to see this weapon come top of the community poll, because it's also my favourite shotgun. Since its introduction with the Russian DLC back in September, this weapon has remained a staple in my shotgun loadout for the assault class, and it's likely going to remain there forevermore, considering no more shotguns are likely to be introduced into Battlefield 1. At least we don't have any news of that right now. Turning Tides didn't add any new shotguns, and the upcoming Apocalypse DLC doesn't show any signs of adding shotguns either. The Model 1900 is actually just a simplified, cheaper version of Remington's Model 1894. Now, over 100,000 Model 1900s were produced over a 10-year period before the decision was made to move focus over to auto-loading shotguns, so by the time the war broke out, this kind of shotgun right here was already outdated. In Battlefield 1, however, we have 2 variants of the Model 1900. The Factory, that's my favourite one, firing buckshot, and a slug variant firing a solid projectile. Now, both variants offer some really interesting gameplay opportunities, I think, and in comparison to other shotguns that you can pick, both of them, I'd say, are fairly unique. As you only have 2 shells or 2 rounds to fire before reloading, the whole playstyle and approach of players using this weapon is very different to that of a player using a pump-action shotgun or an auto-loading shotgun. Being accurate and aggressive with a pump-action shotgun is potentially easier because you've got more rounds to back you up without needing to reload. With the 1900, you have to reload every 2 shots. Or after every single shot if you switch the fire mode. The 1900 allows you to fire both shells or slugs at the same time to ramp up the damage potential if you want to. And I'd only recommend doing so at extreme close ranges. The slug variant is best left on its standard setting. It's far more accurate at range with those rounds, and you can fire 2 of them if you want to, but the buckshot Factory is great fun to use firing both barrels at once. It's so powerful if you can hit the body shot that you can almost guarantee a kill every single time. The 1900 just gives you a totally different experience to any other shotgun in the game, and I think that's likely why players voted for it. It's not your run-of-the-mill shotgun that you've had in Battlefield 1 so far. This one is completely different. It's inherently harder to be successful with than some of the others, but who doesn't love an underdog? And so, there you have it. The best shotgun in Battlefield 1 is the Model 1900 double barrel, but it only narrowly beat the Model 10A by just 6 votes. This is a great example of how cool it is that the community is driving this series. When you get a result like that, it made me laugh every single time I checked that poll before freezing it. And speaking of the poll and voting, it's time to vote on next week's weapons. We're going to be looking at the LMGs. Now, there's a link in the description to the LMG poll. Go and vote for what you think is the best, and the results will be displayed in next week's episode. But thank you very much for watching today. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments section, and drop this video a like as well. That lets me know that you're enjoying this series. But until next time, my name is Westie, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.